All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight's scoping meeting for the proposed Brea Plaza Hotel and Apartments expansion project. My name is Tracy Steinkruger, and I'm the Community Development Director. For those who have lived, worked, and played in Brea for some time, my name actually may not sound too familiar. I actually joined the City of Brea team in early March, about 2 weeks before Governor Newsom announced the COVID-19 stay-at-home order. Again, I'd like to thank you for your participation tonight. I know that there are a lot of folks right now that are trying to balance work and remote schooling, socially distanced soccer practices, and Zoom ballet lessons. So we really appreciate you taking time and energy to participate on the Zoom platform this evening. Our consultant team, who I'll introduce here momentarily, they're going to go into greater detail about the purpose of tonight's scoping meeting. However, I did want to touch on a couple of points. First, tonight really does represent the beginning of the environmental review process. It's a kickoff, if you will. There are going to be many opportunities in the months ahead to not only provide feedback and comments on the environmental review as it unfolds and evolves, but there's also going to be many opportunities ahead to discuss and/or express your support or opposition for the merits of the proposed project. In addition, it's my understanding that in the future, the applicant team will be engaging in a robust public outreach with neighboring residents, HOA groups, and stakeholders. Before I hand things off, a few introductions from the City of Brea tonight. There's myself, Tracy, Community Development Director. Also on Zoom tonight is Sherry Vanderdusen. She's our contract planner, point from Kimley Horn, and then also a Stephanie Franco, an associate planner in the planning division. From the team at PlaceWorks, PlaceWorks being tasked with preparing the environmental impact report for the proposed project. We have Nicole Vermillion, she's a principal with the firm, and then also Jasmine Osmond, she's the project planner. And I believe many of you can see Nicole Vermillion's face when you're actually looking at your screen on Zoom right now. In terms of format for tonight, we'll get things underway with a presentation that will go over the proposed project description, and it will also explain the CEQA process, the steps, and kind of the different project milestones, if you will, as it relates to the environmental review. Questions and/or comments from the public will be accepted at the conclusion of the presentation towards the end of the meeting. And I believe that Nicole and her team have a couple slides coming up next to explain how that's going to evolve. So on that note, again, my thanks for your participation this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to Nicole.
Okay. Hi, my name is Nicole Vermillion. I'm with PlaceWorks, as Tracy was saying. We are assisting the city in preparation of the environmental impact report. And so we just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to talk about what the purpose of the scoping meeting is. And the primary purpose of the scoping meeting is really to provide an opportunity for the public to provide their input on the project. We're listening to your thoughts and concerns, specifically environmental concerns on the project. And that helps us as CEQA practitioners determine the scope of the EIR, the focus of the EIR, and content of the EIR. The EIR has lots of individual environmental topics, and your input helps us focus the EIR to identify which environmental topics are important to you, potential impacts that you're concerned about, and potentially ways to avoid or reduce those impacts. One of the things that we wanted to highlight is what this meeting is not. It is not a public hearing. This is the very beginning of the public process. So in other words, it's the infancy of the project. And so it's really the first opportunity that the public has to provide feedback on the project and input. So because this is a scoping meeting, there is no decision being made at tonight's meeting. In other words, the merits of the project are not being discussed. We're here essentially to listen to you about your concerns on the proposed project. So again, the focus of the meeting is the EIR and to make sure the EIR addresses the appropriate environmental concerns. So online meetings are new, and this is one of the first online scoping meetings that we've done. It's kind of new because of the pandemic. So I just wanted to go over a couple of technical issues of how to participate in this scoping meeting. Number one, because of the number of participants, we are limiting comments to 3 minutes. But that doesn't mean that if you have a lot of concerns that they won't be addressed. We encourage people to provide written comments. During our presentation, we'll identify ways that you can comment. So if 3 minutes isn't long enough, feel free to write a comment letter, and that all of your concerns in the comment letter will be identified in the EIR. So in order to comment during the Zoom scoping meeting, there are a couple of different ways. One is to use the raise your hand button. So if you're on like a laptop or a desktop, at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little hand. And Jasmine, who is assisting us, she's the one whose screen says, ask me a question. She'll make sure to note down that you've raised your hand. We're just really taking them in the order that she sees them. She's gonna write down your name so that when we open up the public comment period, your name will be called, we'll unmute you, and then you can speak on the project. Once you've spoken, we'll lower your hand. And if we haven't, feel free to lower your own hand if your question has already been answered. Next, if you're on your phone, it's the same. There's a little button right here on the lower left-hand side that says raise hand and lower hand. So it's the same deal, but just a different screen format for the phone. The other way you can comment is the chat feature. And I want to highlight that during the scoping meeting, we are not using this chat feature as a way to comment on your environmental concerns of the project. The chat feature we're really going to utilize for technical issues you might be having during this presentation, or if you're not sure how to use the raise your hand, you can also use the chat feature to ask me a question to get in line to speak on the project. Okay, so with that, we're going to jump into the project description. Okay, so the Brea Plaza Shopping Center encompasses approximately 16 acres in the city of Brea. It is east of State Route 57 on Imperial Highway. The Brea Plaza Shopping Center began operations in the 1980s and is developed with 165,329 square feet of commercial space and includes a mix of tenants. The project site abuts State Route 57, and the northern portion of the site is bound by the Mercury Insurance corporate campus, which includes an office building, a parking structure, and parking lot. North of the Mercury Insurance campus in Greenbrier Lane are single-family residential uses in the Greenbrier Park. To the east of the project site, across South Associated Road, is a single-family residential neighborhood. Directly south of Imperial Highway are commercial and retail uses in the city of Fullerton. The Brea Plaza Hotel and Expansion project would be constructed on approximately 3.8 acres of the 16-acre site in the northwest portion of the shopping center. The project would require demolition of the existing 1,100-seat movie theater, the 7,500 square feet Buca de Beppo restaurant, and 149 surface parking spaces. The project includes development of an L-shaped structure. The L-shaped building would include a 6-story mixed-use hotel and 5-story apartment building above 2 levels of above-ground parking, resulting in a maximum 7-story structure. At its highest point, the 7-story building would be approximately 84 feet tall. The apartment building, that's what's here in pink, would have 194 units. The residential units would include studio, 1-bedroom to 4-bedroom units, including co-living apartments. Additionally, a portion of the proposed apartments would be used for extended stays to serve corporate clients like Mercury Insurance. The building would include a rooftop garden, and the western portion of the building facing the freeway would include a 150-room hotel, 5,019 square foot restaurant, which replaces the Buca de Beppo restaurant, and 17,863 square feet of co-working office. The hotel would operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The office building would primarily operate during the weekday business hours. The restaurant would have similar hours as the existing retail hours of operation, which are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday. In summary, the proposed project would result in a reduction of 3,068 square feet of commercial uses, but an increase of 150 hotel rooms and 194 residential units. The parking structure would include 2 above-ground levels under the residential units and 1 subterranean level below the hotel, and would have up to 347 parking spaces. There are currently 725 parking spaces within the Brea Plaza Shopping Center. Additionally, the applicant has an agreement with Mercury Insurance for use of approximately 180 spaces during business hours and all surface spaces, approximately 500 spaces, after 5 p.m. on weekends. Because the project would necessitate removal of 149 surface parking spaces along the western portion of the project site to accommodate the L-shaped building, there would be a net increase of 198 parking spaces on site. And I just, several people requested, that were requesting invitation to tonight's scoping meeting mentioned concerns about parking. Parking is not an environmental impact addressed in the EIR. However, the city is keenly aware of the parking concerns, and staff will be rigorously reviewing the proposed parking plans. The applicant will be submitting a parking study to assess the parking needs of the existing and proposed uses. When the parking study is submitted, it will be reviewed by a parking consultant retained by the city. If the study concludes that additional parking is necessary, then it must be provided. So the City of Brea land use designation for the site is general commercial with a floor area ratio of 0.5. The Brea Plaza Shopping Center is currently zoned general commercial. The project would require a general plan amendment and zone change to mixed use 2. Approval of the project would also require, I said that, zone change and general plan amendment from commercial to mixed use 2. The applicant is also submitting a request for a development agreement. Other approvals required include a variance for the height of the residential and hotel building and a conditional use permit to allow service of alcoholic beverages at the hotel and restaurant. So now we'll talk about a little bit about the CEQA process. The CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, and it's pronounced CEQA. The EIR discloses the project impacts to the public and decision makers and identifies ways to avoid or reduce environmental impacts. This screen highlights the areas where the public can participate as part of the EIR process. So these squares that are highlighted in yellow, yellowish orange, identify that the next steps, like for example, right now we submitted the notice of preparation and we are currently at the scoping meeting. You can submit comments on the NOP as well as comments during tonight's scoping meeting. When we release the EIR for a period of 45 days, the public can submit comments on the EIR, and the public can also provide opportunities for public comment and input during the Planning Commission and City Council hearings. The NOP contains a brief description of the project, its location, and where documents relating to the project can be found. It notifies responsible agencies and other interested parties that an EIR will be prepared and solicits input regarding the scope, focus, and content of the EIR. The EIR, the NOP public review period is 30 days. And if you haven't seen the NOP, you can find it on the city's website here. The EIR is going to address all 20 of the environmental topical sections required as part of the CEQA checklist. And we're going to highlight 3 areas where we're doing focused technical studies, and that includes the traffic and transportation section. We've brought on board a transportation engineer, LLG, as well as Placeworks is doing the air quality, greenhouse gas, and noise studies. Separate from CEQA, the city is also requiring the applicant to prepare a parking study. The city will have its own parking expert review the parking study. And the purpose of the parking study is to inform the city whether or not the parking provided is adequate or whether additional parking is needed. The notice of preparation we circulated starting on July 27th, and it ends on August 26th. And we noticed it in the Brea Star Progress. It's also available for review at the city's website, and you can also participate in tonight's scoping meeting. The draft EIR is anticipated to be circulated later this year, and it will be circulated for a period of 45 days. The final EIR is anticipated to be circulated early next year, and will include responses to comments for anyone who commented during the draft EIR public comment period. In addition, other opportunities for comment are the hearings for the project, which include Planning Commission and City Council hearing. You can submit comments on the NOP in the following ways. One is sending an email to Sherry at this email address. You can mail comments to the City of Brea, and all comments must be sent by 5 p.m. on August 26th. Anyone who participated in tonight's scoping meeting, if you requested to the Zoom meeting invite, you will automatically be added to the city's distribution list. But anyone else who would like to be added to the city's distribution list may do so by contacting Sherry. And with that, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Just a couple of reminders that during the public comment period, we ask that you raise your hand to speak, or you request to speak via the chat to ask me a question, and speakers would be limited to 3 minutes. So, and just one pause, it might take a little bit of time, a little bit longer than it does at in-person scoping meetings, just so that it gives us a chance to, one, call everyone up one at a time, two, unmute you. So just as a warning, it may take a little bit longer than you're used to get from one person to the next. Jasmine, who do we have?
I don't see anyone raising their hand. Oh, it looks like Mary's iPad has her hand raised. Hold on, I will go ahead and unmute you.
You might have to unmute yourself as well, because I think I'm trying to unmute you.
I just did, yeah. What I heard that the movie theater and the Italian restaurant were going to be demolished with all this expansion. Is that true? Or what is going to be demolished in that area to provide for the hotel and the expansion?
I can answer that. The movie theater is 1,100 seats. It's about 18,000 square feet, a little bit about that. That will be demolished, as well as the existing Buku de Beppo.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Well, I think that shopping area is very congested. Even if you go to the movies there, you can't park. I think it's not a good idea because of the congestion over there already, and all the stores around there are all busy, and the parking is kind of bad over there just to even go to the movies. And I think people like to go to the cheaper theaters because it's not as expensive as the big theaters. So, even though it's it's really old and ancient, but some people like the effects because of the money part of it, because they don't want to spend the money to go to the expensive theater. So, in my opinion, I would say no to the hotel because of the congestion and especially near the Brea Mall and all that. The streets are just going to be overcrowded. That's just my personal opinion, but I'm sure others have other suggestions. So that's just mine. And what the hotel would be for offices also, you said?
There's a separate office component.
A separate office component. Okay, I see. Okay. And there would be how many rooms? Would it be large or small hotel, or would it be like a living quarters? Would it be compact, or in the rooms?
The hotel is 150 rooms.
150 rooms. Okay. All right. That was my only question. So someone else. Thank you for your help.
Okay, next we have Kevin Morrow, and then we have, or sorry, Frank Morrow and Kevin Campion.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, I'm going to ask a question about the draft EIR that's coming up regarding the traffic circulation. I don't know what LLG is planning on studying, but my recommendation is that they study the northbound off-ramp to Imperial Highway of 57 northbound. They study the intersection of Associated and Imperial, and they study the intersection of Associated and Greenbrier at a minimum. My concern is with all the extra office space and hotel space taking up that existing area, that the increased traffic levels on Associated will make it exceedingly difficult for traffic to exit the shopping center either northbound or southbound on Associated, where the Mother's Market parking lot area is. And I also believe that the study will show that that intersection is already impacted eastbound and westbound when I'm talking about the intersection of Associated and Imperial, with the existing traffic going to and from the dump on Valencia, the big trucks that haul all the trash to and from the dump. So my concern is those intersections that I mentioned earlier, and I hope that the draft EIR focuses on the grading or the classification of those intersections.
Okay, thank you.
Next we have Kevin.
Trying to unmute.
Okay,
We
go.
can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I live in Glenbrook, which is just above Mercury Insurance. And part of our problem over there is Mercury provides a lot of traffic in our own community. But with this so near your project, our little section there of about 250 homes is really going to be impacted. It'll be difficult to get out on Associated Road. It would be impossible to get out on Birch Street through our track, where I think you need a stoplight to sort of let people get through there. That would be at what you call Birch Street in Red Bay, needs a traffic light. And it's going to be pretty congested. I hope you can figure out a way to solve that problem. If not, we'll take money. Thank you. Thanks, you got it.
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Next, we have Riley Keller.
Hi there. I just wanted to echo what Frank Morrow said. He pointed out a lot of good, a lot of good points there. I was basically gonna say that as well, and also, you know, when it comes down to mitigation, maybe take a look into active transportation solutions for some of the, the local traffic and things like that. We have the tracks to trail a little north of the project, so maybe a connection there would help with some of that. Yeah, again, I think Frank Morrow covered it. Thank you.
And don't forget, if you would like to speak, you could also use the raise your hand function as well.
Next, we have Donald Minnick.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm also a resident of the Glenbrook community. I have been since 1993. My wife and I, we live on Plum Avenue in Glenbrook. And as Kevin mentioned, and a couple other people mentioned, the congestion is getting very, very overwhelming, actually. It's very hard to pull out. My house, looking out my window right here, is Birch. And so when I exit my neighborhood, I usually exit on Red Bay. And Red Bay is extremely difficult to turn left, because of the amount of traffic from Mercury Insurance leaving off of Associated Road. And they're also building housing just on the other side of the 57 freeway. They're building a lot of housing units over there. I'm not real happy about the 194 residential units as well as the hotel. And, we need a sound wall like they did, I believe, on the other side of Glenbrook. They have a large sound wall, and we don't have that. Mine is like 6 feet high, and the noise is terrible. And, so on top of the noise and the congestion and the project they're building on the corner of Birch and State College, it just seems, insane to build 194 residential units and a hotel. My wife and I, we're not happy about it at all. And I spoke with some other neighbors. They haven't gone on the Zoom, but they feel the same way. It's just, and we were not even notified except for Nancy Foxhall notified people. She's the Glenbrook manager at the clubhouse right below me. And, she does a great job trying to inform people. But, the city, my other neighbor, he said, why didn't the city send out some notification to people, so that, and it sounds like that's coming later, that this is just, so there's going to be some input later on. But, we need a sound wall really bad, and they need to put a signal light on Red Bay and Birch or something, because the amount of, just adding more congestion to me doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And as I think Mary mentioned a minute ago, the parking is already impacted in that shopping center. If you eat at the Fish Grill, which we like to do, or Lucille's, there's no place to park your car. So I mean, they need to really think this over a little bit. That's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Eric Small.
Okay, I think you got it this time. I'm going to echo everybody's same comments. I'm going to echo what Frank said about traffic and everything getting in there, all the intersections. I go to work at 6:30 in the morning when I was going to work before this COVID stuff, and the traffic is really bad at the intersection of Associated and Imperial. Traffic coming off, somebody brought the same thing up, the traffic coming off the freeway gets backed up all the way off, and they're going, trying to go straight. Much less the people that are trying to leave the Brea Plaza, trying to turn right, who illegally turn right when the light says you're not supposed to turn right. And that's just going to back up anybody that's even in that shopping center whatsoever. I don't know whose idea this was, but there's only 3 ways into this shopping center, and they're already crowded as they are. And so I don't know who was thinking that we're going to put 194 homes in there and 150 hotel places in there. And this is basically really ridiculous. We don't need any. I mean, where the kids going to go to school? I mean, that's another impact. 194 apartments. We're already putting the ones in it across from on the Dillon right now. This is like crazy. I mean, where are those kids going to go to school? The junior high is already full, and we only have one junior high, so we're going to make another junior high somewhere. I mean, what's the plans for all this? And much less even the other stores that are already in the complex. How are they going to be serviced? Because you're not going to be able to be right behind it. So how the liquor store going to get their stuff? Because it looks like those buildings are going right up against the other buildings, according to your picture. So yeah, I'm going to express my concerns for everything. Parking, there's going to be no parking. There's no way you can get in there, and it's going to, like the Glenbrook people said, they're never going to get out. I mean, this is going to be crazy. So that's going to be my 2 cents for this meeting. But I will be joining all the other meetings and expressing my displeasure for this. I don't know whose idea this was to put this up, but I'm not happy about it at all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Arthur Rubin.
Am I on?
We can hear you.
Okay. I agree with the parking and traffic problems, but there was, I was also wondering whether people with satellite dishes on Greenbrier would have line of sight to the satellite. I don't know if this is an environmental impact. I don't know if this is an environmental impact or something the city might want to consider also. It's, I'm just not sure of the distances. It looks like, it seems to me though that there's no view to be considered from south on Greenbrier, but it might block satellite access as well. I guess that's what I have at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Clarice.
Hi there. First of all, I just want to second, everything that people have been saying, because I think only if you live in this neighborhood, you understand what they're saying. So obviously this was an idea. It might have been a great idea for whoever had the idea, but they don't live in the neighborhood, so they don't understand the impact and the traffic. So the first thing I'm thinking, I think somebody mentioned, was, when you went, there's only 3 exits to that shopping area, and one of the exits is a right turn only towards Imperial going west, and then so anybody turning right, there's only one option, anybody going to, you know, Brea or La Habra, there's pretty much only one option. And everybody going to, you know, Brea or Belinda, Placentia, there's only one option. And also another thing, like even going to the 57, everybody going to the 57 South, there's only one lane. So, I mean, it's going to be just a nightmare. So I wonder how that's going to impact not only, of course, the local residents, but also the businesses, because honestly, I don't want to go, you know, if I want to go shop at Mother's Market or eat at a place, I don't want to, you know, like as it is right now, you have to, you know, struggle to find a parking space, not to mention chicken filet that is always, you know, so it just seems really interesting. But of course, the person who had the idea does not live here, so they don't know these things. But my question was about the parking, because it seems like the math doesn't add up. So for the apartments, how many units? Is it a 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms units?
There's going to be a mix of studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and 4 bedroom.
Because if you think about it, so usually let's say for most apartments, even if it's only 1 bedroom, let's say it's a couple, people have 2 cars. So if you add them, so there's a total of 347 stalls, that's the total parking. So even if it's only for the apartment, that's not going to be enough, you know, and then you plus the hotel. So it just seems like if, like people mentioned before, if the parking is already a problem in the shopping area, and they're already taking parking from the shopping area, but they're not really, you know, it's not going to add up if you're going to have studios or did you say 4 bedroom apartments? Did you just say 4 bedroom?
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, so it's you know, it doesn't seem like the parking would be enough. And then again, you know, the domino effect for people, you know, in the neighborhood right behind it, you know, more people, you know, because you cannot find parking spots there. What's the first thing people are going to do? They're going to start parking in the local neighborhood, you know, and then you're going to have a lot of parkings from people, you know, in front of their house, and it's not something that anybody wants. So, I just think that the numbers are not adding up. So that's, I think, the most basic things are the parking and the traffic, and with that is going to be also, I think, the might have an economic impact on the local businesses in that plaza, because I don't think anybody will really want to go there. Not to mention the Brea Mall during the holidays, Imperial, it's already crazy. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lisa Vargas.
Okay. Hi there. Well, I want to start by first saying I greatly appreciate being included in this process, because I know it was very short notice for all of us. I too live in Glenbrook, and I think a lot of us, our biggest fear is the Hines development on State College and Birch was forced upon us, and we didn't really get to give our input, and we're going to have to suffer that traffic, and I can't imagine Christmas over there. So I do appreciate this. I also know that until we have these parking studies and a lot of the information necessary, it's going to be difficult for us to really either get behind it or say we disagree with it, whichever way we're going to go. I hope that there is a transportation option that would be added. I mean, it's a good hub right off the freeway. Maybe there's some way we can help with parking that way. I know that based on what you've been saying, you're going to increase the number of parking spots. So that is a benefit. I guess we have to wait to see how that plays out. But even more important, knowing where retail is today and where it's going to go, we will never come back to 100% on retail shopping. So we do have to find ways to allow businesses to still prosper and have people being able to move into our city, get younger people into our city, and have options where they can live, because housing here is too expensive. And I know that for a fact. My daughters both moved to Austin, Texas to get beautiful homes because Brea was just out of their price range. So I know that there's a need for this. I think it's just going to take us time to get there, because we all look at it today and just think the parking lot's too busy, shopping's difficult, but a lot of those stores are not going to be here 2-5 years from now, for all we know. So we've got to come up with a future plan for Brea. So I look forward to more information and more studies, and then be able to determine how large or if this is even viable for our little community here. So thank you for letting us give our input.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ted.
Hi there. This is Ted Gribble. I'm a board member of the Brea Glenbrook HOA. I echo the comments of my neighbors and I think in the letter that we submitted on the behalf of the HOA, we have voiced those same concerns. One thing I didn't hear mentioned by others so far was the actual addition of traffic within the neighborhood. There's already a set of the Mercury Insurance employees who use the surface streets within the neighborhood to bypass the busy intersections at Imperial and Associated. So we want to make sure that it goes on the record here that LG, the traffic study group, will be looking at that as well. The other concern was mentioned, but I would like to get a response here and now by the city on how the impacts to the schools are evaluated, because that seemed to be a blank spot in the various EIR and plus traffic study. Could someone address that quickly?
Hi, I can address that. The EIR includes a public services section, and so that's where the evaluation of the potential impact to the school district would go.
Great. Okay. And I understand that we will have the ability to comment on the EIR, but it did also sound like the parking study is outside of the scope of the EIR, and was wondering if we'll have the ability to comment and scrutinize, for lack of a better word, that study and process as well. Sorry, that was a question. I don't know if anybody has an answer to that. If there will be a way to look at the parking report before it's approved.
Apologies, I was on mute, so I had to go through the process of being unmuted. Yes, once the parking study is prepared, in short, that will be one of many documents available as part of a planning commission, as part of a city council packet that is available to the public as the project continues to go through the public review process. So I can't necessarily speak to timing of the deliverable, but it will be incorporated in the wealth of public review documents that will be available for public review and comment.
Okay, great. And yeah, I mean, just in parting, we recognize the economic needs of the developer here. I understand that the movie theater is no longer viable, so there's going to be empty space and something's going to happen. We hope we can work collaboratively with the developer to figure out a solution that serves all parties and doesn't impact our neighborhood in a negative way. So it's probably a long road ahead here, but appreciate the opportunity and look forward to the process. Thank you. Oh, and quick shout out to Glenbrook neighbors. Please get involved with the board. And we have the HOA meetings every month. This is an opportunity we can, have a cohesive message here if we can communicate effectively. Thank you.
And before we get to the next person, I just want to remind people that we're not using the Zoom chat as a way to comment on the EIR. So we really encourage people to speak during tonight's scoping meeting. And if you have comments, you can also submit them in writing via email or regular mail to the city.
Thank you. Next we have Papa Nana Stephenson.
Hello? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I've been a resident in Glenbrook for 26 years and raised 5 kids here. And I'm also a realtor in this area. And so I have a lot of concerns about putting a hotel and an apartment complex this close to our community here in Glenbrook. I do think that it will hurt the value of our homes. I don't see it adding to the value of our homes, and I don't think that's really fair to all the residents. The parking, I'm really concerned about the parking. Even though the theater was there, they did not get very much business. It was never full, and the parking was horrendous. It was very difficult to find parking when we'd go to the theater, and there was sometimes very few people, 10 people in the theater. So I don't see how the parking is going to improve. I'm concerned about people taking their kids to school already when school is in and you're driving to school. Of course, not right now, but the traffic is so bad on Associated and Birch and those areas. I am concerned. Everybody's concerns are my concerns. I agree with everyone and what everyone has saying. Brea to me was a humble community, and I feel like it's with all this that it's going to become more of a downtown metropolis, and so I just really want to encourage that a lot of thought goes into what's going to happen to the neighbors and our community here and the streets, and like some of the neighbors said, parking. It will be used when you have apartments and hotels and they can't find parking. The next thing they're going to do is use the neighborhoods, and I think that's going to be a really horrible thing. So thank you for listening to us, and I hope our words are really appreciated and that they really care and do something for the good of all of us.
Thank you.
Next, we have Martha and Sal Castillo.
You were breaking up a little, Jasmine.
Next, we have Martha and Sal Castillo.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. Now we don't hear anything.
Can you hear us now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. We also live in Glenbrook. We've been here for almost 30 years or more than 30 years. And when I go to work, well, normal days, I just go and get on Imperial to get on the 57 freeway. And over the years, sometimes I'm not able to make a right turn to go into Imperial because the traffic's so backed up. And the same thing when I'm coming home, the line to get off the ramp is just getting longer and longer. They did improve, they went from, used to be one lane to get off the freeway, now it's 2 lanes, but it doesn't seem to, it seems like the better you make the freeways, the more cars to show up right after that. And then somebody mentioned it too, around the holidays, it's like, I just don't want to live here because traffic's so bad around the holidays. And I just hope that whoever's thinking that that's the best thing to do for Brea, they consider everybody, not just what's best for some people and what's best for collecting more taxes. Okay.
If I may join to what my husband said, the other concern too is Imperial. If people are traveling west on Imperial, they'll tend to make a turn onto Castlegate. And again, that is cutting through the neighborhood where I know that speed bumps were installed for that purpose because traffic comes in and they're flying. I mean, they're driving so fast. And, I've noticed that there's more kids in the neighborhood now with bikes. And these people are cutting through to avoid Imperial and Associated. And so they cut through Castlegate and, they're driving 40 miles an hour, if not faster. So all those things, along with the value of the property, this is what we're looking at right now. And it's true, even now, we've noticed neighbors, I know the family is growing and so forth. So there's a lot of parking. The city only allows for one, perhaps sometimes only one overnight parking, but you're going to see that more and more people are going to, well, a lot of, because of this pandemic as well, too, a lot of people are moving back home, and therefore you see more cars parked, where that's what's going to happen with this apartment building. They're not planning for so many parking spaces per unit, and so they're not only going to use the ones that are provided, but they're going to use the ones from the shopping mall, and then they're going to flow onto the streets, where the clubhouse is, and even the little streets around. So that's our concern.
Okay, thank you.
Our final speaker is Tim.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I echo everybody's concerns and sentiments about congestion, and I understand progress, and the city wants to progress and make money. I just wanted to be brief and remind everybody that this is a pandemic, and the traffic that we see out there is not even the full impact of the normal traffic, because a lot of people are staying home, they're working from home, they're trying not to leave. So I don't know how accurate the reports really will be if they're doing reports now versus 6 months ago when everything was full force and normal. So I just wanted to bring that up, that the city take that into account, that a lot of people are not mobile right now. They're hunkering down until the pandemic, evens out or lessens. So if it's already bad now, it's just going to be worse when everybody is able to go back to work as usual. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more people who would like to speak? Again, you can use the raise hand function or the group chat. And I didn't see anyone else in either pop up. So I just wanted to take a minute just to make sure there was nobody else who we didn't hear from that we would like to speak. Okay, I don't hear anybody wanting to say any additional comments, so I'm going to turn it back over to Tracy to do a wrap up. And I also wanted to say thank you for participating in tonight's scoping meeting. It was a learning experience doing this on Zoom, but I think it turned out really well and everyone able to get an opportunity to comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Again, just a couple quick points. The PowerPoint presentation from the meeting tonight, we should have it uploaded and available tomorrow on the city's website. I believe, Nicole, you provided the address, but if you go to the City of Brea's Planning Division, it's on our projects and process page. I think the Brea Plaza project is actually the first one on the list when you get on that page. I think we're also taking steps to record tonight's meeting. I think our hope is to make either the audio file or the video and audio file available on the city's website as well. Again, same location. Got to kind of work with the parameters of the website. So you may be able to listen, you may be able to watch, you may be able to do both. So we should get that uploaded, I think, probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. On behalf of the city and the Community Development Department, I would like to thank all of the participants tonight. I know it's a new platform, so your patience is much appreciated. In the days ahead, good health to all of you. Be safe out there. Wash your hands. And we look forward to speaking and communicating with you again in the future, whether it be on Zoom or in person at City Hall. So again, my thanks, all the best. Have a good night.